Okay, I have 6:01 on my clock and we're going to get started. We're hoping for a little bit bigger crowd, but this is recorded and will be out on our website for people to view as well. I want to do some introductions first. Our board, and I'll just start over here, Brent Miller, Heather Hookman, Robin Gilbertson, Lauren Bigler, and Katie Hoffman. And hopefully Tony will show up and he can say that he wasn't coming. We also have Jen Chapman from Ehlers, our financial advisors for the municipal side of things. This is our second meeting regarding the operating referendum special election, and we are getting close to our November 4th date. And this came about at the July 14th meeting. The board voted unanimously to hold a special election asking voters to consider an operating levy increase. And this is revoking what we currently have and replacing with an increase that includes that inflationary factor. And that's to help sustain the quality of education that Maury County Central Public Schools are known for. Just what a definition of what an operating levy is. It is locally approved funds that help support school districts' operating costs. The majority of schools in Minnesota have a voter-approved levy, and those monies are used for staffing, curriculum, classroom supplies, utilities, bus transportation, and other critical costs in operating our schools. And this is on top of what we receive from the state in our per pupil formula, and I'll show you later that is not enough that we're receiving. That's why we have to ask for local funds as well. So why are we asking for this levy request and this increase? The board's decision to bring this forward request forward was based upon long-term review of financial projections, public input, and a desire to protect the opportunities for our students. We are committed to strong financial stewardship and a high-quality education, and we're looking at a shared approach to the funding. We've done our budget reductions, and we are asking for community increase in that support. The budget reductions that we put into place for this fiscal year, school year 25-26, included instructional positions that were not replaced or were cut, and that included elementary, high school, and special education, cuts in community education, reductions to athletics and activity programming, reductions to hourly staff, reductions in transportation, and then administration taking on additional duties. And that equated to approximately $400,000 for this fiscal year. The reason that we are asking for this increase is because the state aid is not keeping up with inflation. If it had, we would receive $1,420 more per student, a difference of about $1.1 million annually, and then we wouldn't need a request if the state was keeping up with their end of the bargain with the funds regarding inflation. We also have several unfunded or underfunded mandates that continue to get passed down to us at the federal or state government level. And these are requirements that districts have to do to service our students without additional funding. And that shifts the burden to the district and then in turn to our local taxpayers. So the only option that districts have is to bridge that gap, are to cut budgets or request additional revenue authority from voters, and most districts have done both, as the case that we're in. This short video just explains in a short 2-minute synopsis of what school funding is and how complex that is. So I'm going to play that and then we'll keep continuing and moving on.
After headlines across Minnesota declared record school funding in 2023, you may be asking yourself, why are so many school districts making budget cuts and going to voters for more funding? Here are the top reasons Minnesota schools are struggling to balance budgets. Number 1, inflation. Families aren't the only ones feeling the impact of rising costs. For school districts, the costs of labor, health insurance, property insurance, and school bus transportation continue to rise. The 2023 inflationary increase to the general education formula is a step forward, but it doesn't make up for decades of underfunding and failing to keep up with rising inflationary costs. Number 2, unfunded and underfunded mandates from the state. When it comes to some of the most costly things schools have to pay for, it's the state legislature, not the local school board, who makes these decisions. From implementing new instructional strategies to increasing curricular requirements to providing unemployment benefits, there are decisions made at the state level that local districts must follow. While the state may offer one-time funds to help pay for some new requirements, the ongoing costs are often the school district's responsibility. And number 3, the changing role of schools in our communities. The needs of students are different than they were 10, 20, or 30 plus years ago. From mental health support for students, specialized learning assistance, family resources, and career programs to help meet workforce needs, schools have taken on additional responsibilities to meet the needs of their students and community. When you add rising safety needs, aging buildings and technology, and declining birth rates, it's clear why Minnesota districts struggle to balance their budgets. School funding is complex, with the majority of funding coming through the state in the form of general education aid. Schools also receive funds for specific categories that can only be spent on certain items. Additional needs are then covered by property taxes. In other words, just because the state is providing us with more dollars doesn't mean we can use those dollars wherever we like. Each year, we tackle the challenge of balancing these funding sources with our increasing expenses to build an effective budget that meets student needs. When our student needs exceed state and local funding, we may seek additional support through a referendum. As you can see, there's more to the story beyond headlines of schools receiving record funding, inflation, unfunded mandates, and a changing role for schools. Funding schools is an investment in our students, community, and future. Please reach out to your elected officials and share your story so they can help do their part to make sure our students and our schools are receiving the resources they need for success. Visit our website to learn more.
So as you can see, Minnesota school funding is very complex, but a statewide issue of the funds not keeping up with inflation, hence the need for additional asks for additional funds. Schools are becoming more and more reliant on referendums. Again, just to reiterate, since 2002, 2003, the state general education revenue formula has not kept pace with inflation. I'll show you that in a graph in a second. If the allowance would had increased with inflation each year, we would be receiving $1,420 more per student, or $8,901 for fiscal year 25-26. And then this fiscal year, the 25-26 allowance increased by $200 per pupil from the state, and that is based on the statutory calculation that they put in last year to keep up with inflation. There was a threat of that going away. So this is the first year for that inflationary increase using to calculate the formula allowance. Just wanted to show a number of elections that school districts in Minnesota are going to the voters on November 4th. There's 79 school districts that are going to their voters on November 4th. 43 of them are asking for a voter-approved operating levy increase, shown in the dark red on the map. Right here is where we are. This one is Marshall. You've probably seen that local news. This is Jackson. Those are 3 local school districts that are asking for referendum increases, and then all of the other dark red are also operating levy increases. The average increase asked out of all of those in the dark red is $818 per pupil. Our ask is a $685 increase per pupil, and that shows you that the underfunded amounts are there, and that's a glaring example of that. And that's Minnesota's core mission of educating students, and that difference is 11%. That average of 818 is 11% of the FY25 basic formula. So again, this shows that gap or that difference in state and federal funding shortfalls. The blue line represents if it would have kept up with inflation had the allowance increased at 8901. The orange dotted line is what we're currently receiving, and again, that started back in 2003 up to where we're at this year in fiscal year 26. So that gap is 19%. That reflects the erosion of state funding over time as the formula allowance has failed to keep up with inflation and rising costs. So for our district, the single funding source, the student aid, the per pupil formula, accounts for half of our total general fund revenue. So in contrast, the operating referendum currently contributes just 4% of our entire revenue. So even with a proposed $685 per pupil increase on the operating referendum, which is an important step in supporting our students, it's not going to make up for the loss of the buying power of half of our revenue. So our ask again is $685 per pupil. That increase would be 7.5% of that 19% gap. And that equates to a total of $500,000 increase, as opposed to $1,087,720, which is this gap here. Right here. So the last increase that we had at MCC on operating levy increase was in 2006, nearly 20 years ago. In 2019, the current operating levy that we're under now was renewed at the same rate as the 2006 levy amount. It does not have an inflationary factor included in it. And then we also discussed last year the possibility of going to a 4-day school week as a way to cut costs, and that application, as we all know, was denied by MDE. So how is this going to help? The revenue from the proposed levy would be used to increase or sustain or maintain reasonable class sizes, retain and attract high-quality teachers and staff, the ability to continue offering career, technical, and college-ready opportunities for our students, and support and maintain strong academic, fine arts, athletics, and co-curricular opportunities. All things that we have had and what people expect from our school. As you all know, this is going to be, this is a tax impact or a tax increase. If it's approved, the estimated tax would be $171 per year, or $14.25 a month on a home valued at $150,000. We're revoking the current $625.69 per pupil, and we replace that with a $1,310.69 per pupil, which is a net increase of $685 per pupil. It is set to increase at the rate of inflation beginning with taxes payable in 2027, so that has an inflationary factor built in. And it is applicable for 10 years, beginning with the taxes payable in 2027. Ag land is not taxed, it's just the house, garage, and 1 acre. And also seasonal rec property, residential property like cabins, are also not taxed. This is a chart showing the estimated tax impact with the estimated market value of your home or commercial, industrial property. So that's the range. This column is what is going to be revoked. This column is the new amount, and this is the difference. So at the top you can see 1310.69 for a total of 957.59 would be our total operating revenue revenue total. This is the increase right here, 500,186. This is what we receive now, 456,874. And this is based upon the adjusted pupil units of 766. I get asked that question quite often. We don't have 766 kids, but this is based on adjusted pupil units, which is the weighted amount. So we don't have half-day kindergarten, but if we did, they are counted as 0.5. Grades 1 through 6 are counted as 1.0, and 7 through 12 are counted as 1.2 students. So that gives us the 766 number. On our website, we have a tax calculator, and Ayler's put this together for us so you can actually find your exact tax impact on your tax statement. And if you don't have that, you can go on this site and find your property, or anybody else's for that matter, to see tax impact. You put that number in here. So let's say you have a $200,000 valuation on your property. You hit calculate, and it shows you in this graph how much is going to be revoked from your taxes, 209, what your new amount is, 437, and the difference, the increase, if the election would pass at 220. And then the monthly amount is underneath there. Jen, did you want to talk about this at all, or any additional?
I think we'll get to some slides that talk about some credits, some refund programs, and a deferral program that the state of Minnesota has, but I will just note that down below where you check your tax impact here, we do have all of the information that I'm going to talk about in a little bit about those refund programs and the deferral. It's all here on the website also. So once I leave here, if you're interested and want to dig around, it is available on this website also.
This slide is showing you where we currently are on the operating referendum authority compared to area schools around us. We're the blue bar at 626. And you can see way to the right, Fulda, they're at $2,300 per student. And RTR does not have an operating referendum, one of the few that do not. If this would pass, we would slide right in here at 1310, still below Westbrook, Walnut Grove, and Fulda. And I will say too that that's based upon this year's election. All of these schools could be looking at doing this a year from now as well. That's kind of the unknown. That's where we would be after the election. This slide shows the total school tax comparison. This is based upon taxes payable in 2025 on a home with an estimated market value of $175,000. So our total tax, everything included, operating, capital project, building, the building bond, we're at $512 in the blue bar again, and you can see the comparison there where we rank in total tax. To the far right again is Adrian and Fulda. Adrian's at 884 and Fulda 963. So this question comes up quite often. What happens if the levy is not approved? We would obviously have to face the difficult task again of additional budget cuts for fiscal year 27. This would have to come in staff reductions because the majority of our expenditures come from people and programs. That would also trickle down into increased class sizes for more classes than what we already have, reductions in school and district support services, and additional cuts to academic offerings, athletics, activities, and music programs. All things that affect the students that we serve. When would the money be available? So the vote would happen November 4th. In December, if it passes, in December, the school board would certify the levy in our Truth and Taxation meeting. And then taxes payable in 26, the first year of the tax increase would be in 2026. And we would receive the additional funds next school year, the first year that we can receive those additional revenues. So I'm going to hand it over to Jen, and she's going to talk about some state property tax refunds and deferrals.
All right, so as I was mentioning before, on our website we do have some information about 2 tax refund programs and 1 tax deferral program that are available through the state of Minnesota. These may help with the burden of the tax impact that you may receive if this passes. Also, you can, as you're getting closer to your tax time, your tax professional, or you can even reach out now, your tax professional can help you with this. And also we have the link directly to the Department of Revenue where you can fill out the forms. The link to the Department of Revenue is also on the tax calculator website. So now we'll just get into each one of these refunds and the deferral that I mentioned in a little bit more depth. So the first refund that we're going to talk about is the homestead credit refund. And on the next slide, I will show you the chart that is an estimate of some refunds that you could receive in the district for the homestead credit. It's available for all homestead property, both residential and ag, the house, garage, and 1 acre only for this. And it is a sliding scale, and that's based on your total property taxes and income, and it does max out at a maximum of $3,310 for homeowners. There's also a special property tax refund program, and this is available, again, homestead property, both residential and ag, that house, garage, and 1 acre. This has a little bit more, it's a little more special, like it's called there. You need to have a tax increase of at least 12% and $100 over that prior year. So the refund is 60% of the tax increase that exceeds the greater of 12% or 100. So your max on that again is, there's another max here, is 1,000. There's a senior citizen property tax deferral, and basically folks that are over 65 years of age and with a household income of $96,000 or less could qualify to defer a portion of your property taxes on your home. So this is a deferral rather than the refunds that I was talking about before. So that kind of just pushes it down the road, allows you to receive a break, but at any point down the road when the home is sold or, if someone were to pass, then those taxes would have to be paid at that time. So that's a little bit of a different program than the refunds. And then at income tax time, you could, if you itemize deductions for your income taxes, you may be able to deduct a portion of the property taxes paid. And renters can also receive that renter's refund. And now the renter's refund is all done online when you are doing your taxes each year rather than needing to submit a separate form. So we put together this chart for you. Now this is on the homestead credit refund. And so we did this based upon the city of Slayton. So we're starting with a household income of $50,000 here, and this goes up to the max is $139,320 for the household income. So if you're in this range and then you walk out to the different estimated market value on the home or on the property, the $150,000 or $200,000 is closer to what the average in the district is right now. If you had a household income of $80,000, you would receive a refund of $144. So you're looking at, if it was $229 for that annual tax impact, you would receive $144 credit on that. So it's important to make sure that you go out and apply for these types of credits. We hear all the time from the state that people qualify and they just don't put in the forms and submit them for those refunds. So we just wanted to make sure that you're aware of these programs and refunds and deferrals if they were to apply to you. And again, on that tax calculator website, we have all of this information. So if you need the link, I also have some forms with me tonight. If you would like to get the M1 PR form, I have those for both the homestead credit refund and the special refund. That form was due on August 15th, but you can still submit for last year currently, and then the next year. Each year you would need to apply for this on that M1 PR form. You can, but like I said, you can go back to last year and then move forward and submit the form each year. All right.
Thank you. So the ballot question that will be on the ballot is, again, revoking what our existing referendum authority is and approving a new authorization. And that, again, that's the verbiage that you'll see on the ballot. Revoking the 625.69 and approving the new authorization of 1,310.69 per pupil with a difference of 685. And again, it's applicable first levied in 2025 for taxes payable in 2026 and applicable for 10 years unless otherwise revoked or reduced as provided by law. Voting is open right now. It's been open since September 19th, and that's early voting, and that's in the district office. Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Early voting ends the day before the special election, so Monday, November 3rd. Request for an absentee ballot can also be done through the district office. And then the election day for all precincts, we have a combined polling place. and that is at the Slayton Senior Center on Broadway Avenue. That will take place Tuesday, November 4th, and the polls will be open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. that day, again at the Slayton Senior Center. Katie Will, our business manager, she's out on medical leave currently, but Jen is here tonight from Ehlers. Shelby was here at our last meeting. Thank them for putting together many of the slides and talking us through the complexities of school finance. And then now is the time for any questions that anybody has. I don't think we need to probably have the board go up to the chairs. I know they want to, but we'll let them stay down here. This is open time for questions for myself or Jen or any board members that anybody has. And you probably don't have to come to the mic as long as you talk loud enough and I can repeat the question if anybody has any. The sheets out front, you're welcome to take those. Tried to condense all of this information into a front and back. There's links on there for the tax calculator, also a link to the district website election page. There's a whole bunch of information on there with different articles, different tax impacts. The tax calculator is on there, frequently asked questions. There's QR codes, you can scan those and look on your phone. But you're welcome to take any of those that are out there if you want to hand those out to anybody that's interested or couldn't make the meeting. Again, we'll open it up for any questions. One question that came up was on how many received the special election notification in the mail. Okay, so if you received it in the mail, you are a property owner, you own property in the school district. Some people asked, why didn't I get a letter? And that would have been because you don't own property. It was the state requirement is that we have to mail this to all property owners, whether they are able to vote or not. So we were sending letters, went out to many different states where people live. They're not able to vote, but we have to inform them of the special election. So that was that's the answer to that question. So, all right, last chance. Okay, thank you for coming. Again, this will be posted on our website on the link if you want to go back and look at this or share that information. That the recording of tonight's meeting and the other meeting is located on that webpage. So again, thank you for coming. Please get out and vote on November 4th, and hopefully all of your questions are answered and you're an educated voter as this time is coming quickly. Thanks for coming. If anybody wants the tax deferral forms, those are up here. And then if you have any questions that you want to ask individually, we'll be around here for a little bit to do that as well.